Good afternoon. Hello, how are you? Good to have you back. Good to be back with you once again. This is Lisa Donald coming back to you from Broken to Birth. Today is Saturday, May the 8th. What a marvelous and beautiful day it is today. Hey, I want to first of all just wish each and every one of you that are mothers and watching today a very, very happy Mother's Day. This is the Saturday before Mother's Day, and I do hope and pray that you all are having a day filled with love and joy, that you're surrounded by your family, and just allowing your family to take this time to love on you. So happy Mother's Day to you. I won't be before you long. I wanted to jump on really quickly just to give you a word of encouragement as I was encouraged by it on this week. And so I titled this quick little encouragement, Be Anxious for Nothing. Yes, it was last week on Wednesday when God spoke those words to me, be anxious for nothing. And I believe he spoke it to me as a reminder, reminding me that I can't be so anxious and so restless, so filled with anxiety for what I'm expecting, what I'm waiting for, but to just rest in Him. So when He spoke these words to me, immediately my mind recalled what I was thinking on earlier that day. And earlier that day, I was kind of, wondering and talking to God within myself about something that I have been waiting for. And then I found myself getting a little restless. I started feeling a bit uncoordinated. Uncoordinated is in badly organized. I felt disengaged. I felt uninspired. And I felt that way for most of the day until about noon. It was about that time when I realized that I needed something to motivate me. And so what I did was I found something I realized I needed something to fuel my spirit and to charge my soul. So what I did was I went and I found something that I knew would inspire me. I turned it on. I began to listen to it. And as I was listening, I began to feel things change inside of me and change the atmosphere that I was working in. And so I continued to listen. And I felt my mental, spiritual, and physical body begin to charge. I needed to keep that in order to keep me moving forward, despite what my natural eyes still don't see. So what I realized is that I had to reignite the fire within me so that I could change my view, change the way I was looking at the situation. I needed to have that recharge so I could change my perspective so that I could continue to endure the wait, to continue to rest in God. As all of us, we're in a season of waiting. And we have to hold fast to the promises that God has set before us. One of the hardest things for us to do, I think, for us to do in life is to wait, especially when we're waiting on the right timing, when we're waiting on the right circumstances, when we're waiting on God's divine timing. That's one of the hardest things that we have to do. But we have to, not supposed to, but we have to position ourselves to wait in expectation, to wait in expectation of the promise of what we wait for to be fulfilled, manifested, or revealed. Whichever word that you choose to use, we have to wait for the manifestation of what it is that we're trusting and believing God for. So Wednesday night, as I was thinking on these words that was spoken to me, that God administered to me about be anxious for nothing, I began to think about a man and a woman who enjoys running marathons and how they must spend most of their time. Some of them they spend months, and for others they may spend an entire year where they go into training, preparing their bodies and preparing their hearts for the strain that their bodies are going to have to endure. They prepare their hearts because they have to learn how to maintain a certain heartbeat, a certain level of heart pressure in order to to allow their hearts and their breathing to stay in sync with the racing and the running that they have to do in the marathon. And so deciding to run a marathon challenges the mind, it challenges the body, and it challenges willpower. You see, a marathon or marathon runners, they're motivated at the thought. They're motivated at the vision of finishing the long race. But there is a process of preparing that they must endure. There's a tedious journey ahead of them when they're preparing and training for a marathon. But in order for them to get their bodies, their mind, and their heart physically fit for the rigorous physical activity that has to be done, they've got to condition themselves. They have to have their mind in the right mental place, their heart in the right heart space. They're breathing in a way that it'll be able to stay in sync with one another. So I am sure that during the process of training, they are overly excited as the big day of the race draws closer. But they also know that being anxious to run through or skip some of the much needed bodybuilding techniques that they have to go through, they know that it would be detrimental to their body's health. So, patience and persistence are necessary to complete their training. I'm going to say that again. Patience and persistence are necessary to complete their training. So what I want to do is review with you very quickly a few pointers. When a marathon runner is preparing to run a marathon, there's 4 building blocks of training that they have to go through. And these are primary elements that a marathon runner must do before training. Number 1, they have to go through what's called base mileage. And what that means is they must build up their weekly mileage over time by running 3 to 5 times per week. Number 2, they have to do what is called a long run. Now, that long run consists of every 7 to 10 days, they have to run for about 1.5 weeks so that their body can adjust gradually to long distances. And then number 3, they have to do what's called speed work. Speed work is when the marathon runner practices intervals and tempos of running to increase their cardio capacity. And as they're increasing their cardio capacity by practicing these runs, these tempo and interval runs, they're building up their body's strength and their body's resistance. And then number 4, they have to have what's called rest and recovery. I'm so sorry, my phone is ringing and I can't stop to answer it. Rest and recovery, where there's adequate rest. That adequate rest helps prevent injuries and mental burnout. So, Sister Lisa, what are you saying? As we look at the marathon runner in training, I want to encourage you to take these same steps and use them as strengthening tools as you run this race of life. There are so many things that many of us are trying to accomplish and achieve. We all have goals and dreams and visions. We all have our careers or our jobs where we're trying to stay engaged and meet deadlines and finish projects. And as we're doing that, we have to stay encouraged. We have to make sure that we take the same steps as these marathon runners are so that we can complete the tasks, complete the assignments, complete the journeys that have been set before us. So, with that being said, I want to read to you a passage of scripture. Philippians chapter 4. Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. And it says, I'm going to read it from the TPT translation. Don't be pulled in different directions or worried about a thing. Be saturated in prayer throughout each day. offering your faith-filled request before God with overflowing gratitude. Tell him every detail of your life. Then God's wonderful peace that transcends human understanding will make the answers known to you through Jesus Christ. So keep your thoughts continually fixed on all that is authentic and real. Keep your mind fixed on those things which are honorable and admirable, beautiful and respectful, pure and holy, merciful and kind, and fasten your thoughts on every glorious work of God, praising him always. Why? Because God, the God of peace, will be with you in all things. Now, I wanted to read that scripture to you because here is God reminding us that if we don't allow ourselves to be anxious, he will give us peace as we saturate our concerns in prayer to him. He'll allow us to transcend from the anxieties that comes with us worrying and being concerned about what hasn't manifested in our lives yet. He's telling us to keep our thoughts continually fixed on those things that are good, those things that are lovely, those things that are admirable and respectful, because he will give us peace in all things. Listen, we run this race called life in patient endurance, keeping our minds fixed on the prize, keeping our mind fixed on the goal and not on the obstacles and the distractions and the bystanders that are standing along the sidelines. When we look at marathon runners, if they can't afford to pay a lot of attention to those bystanders on the sidelines, even though a lot of them are cheering them on and some of them have cups to give them water in case they get, dry mouth or thirsty along the journey. If they allow themselves to stop and pay attention to the bystanders and the noise that's going on around them, it will stunt their progress. So they've got to stay focused on the prize. What is the prize? The prize is the finish line. The prize is making sure that they're finishing that race, especially if it has anything to do with raising money for that charity in which they are running that marathon for. We must remember that even a quick glance can be a distraction, but looking too long can also cause us to forfeit the race or lengthen our time in that waiting room. These runners, they get tired, they get weary, they get burnt out, they get mentally and physically drained during the race, but they know that they cannot stop. Why do they know that? Because they realize that failing to complete the race is not an option. So what do? They press in. They press in by encouraging themselves to keep running. They are encouraged by the bystanders that are yelling on the sidelines because they're yelling out their names. The bystanders are screaming to them to keep going. Do not stop. Go. Keep going. Cross the finish line. And just like these runners there, there are times when we too will have to encourage and push ourselves through the finish line. We do not allow ourselves to get anxious about getting to that finish line because we know that if we get anxious about finishing, we'll lose our stride, we'll lose our momentum, and we'll lose our strength. So, what I want to encourage you, whatever it is that you're trusting God for, whatever you're waiting for, whatever you haven't seen manifested yet, whatever goal you're trying to meet, and even if you're meeting the goals and hitting the mark, but yet you don't feel like you're making much impact, I just jumped on to encourage you to keep going and don't quit. Take a rest to recover if you must, but do not give up. Get your earplugs. Put your earplugs in. Turn on some motivational speaking, some motivational words of encouragement, some songs that will generate your soul. Put those on if you must to motivate yourself. Fix your eyes on the mark to gaze on as your focal point. Or meditate on a rhythm. Get a rhythm while you're running, and even walk if you must. If running is tiring you out and you feel like you just can't go fast enough because your eyes are too fixed on those that are running before you, stop and start walking. Walk the journey, but do not quit. I want you to remember Galatians. I'm almost done. I want you to remember Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, it says, don't allow yourselves to be weary or disheartened in planting good seeds. For the season of reaping the wonderful harvest that you planted is coming. What am I saying? What I'm saying is, don't allow your heart to get heavy. Don't allow yourself to get weary. Don't get anxious. Because the seeds that you planted, you don't see the harvest of those seeds yet. Just continue to keep moving. Keep planting. Keep sowing those seeds. Continue to put in the work. Faith without works is dead. Focus on Galatians 6 and 9. Continue to keep that what's necessary in your ears to help motivate you and keep you encouraged. Keep running. Keep walking. Keep pressing. Though the race may get hard, and it looks as though you will not finish, keep reminding yourself not to get weary. Remember the seeds that you have planted and the harvest that God has promised you. I want you to focus on the goals, the dreams, the desires that you set for yourself this year. Those promises that God told you that you would reap if you do not faint. Focus on those things and let those things be your motivation to keep you running, to keep you walking, and to keep you waiting, because your wonderful harvest is ahead of you. You may not see it right now, but if you keep running, you keep walking, and you keep waiting, look, the closer you get to the finish line, the clearer the promise becomes in your view. Remember, take a rest if you must. Slow down. Reassess your strategy if you must. But whatever you do, keep going and don't stop. May you be blessed today, and until I see you again, have a great weekend and a happy Mother's Day.